Hey, thanks for watching. My name is Christine, aka Woman Walking a Wire, and I'm going to do a tutorial today on how to make a 2-square Granny Square crossbody bag. This is my bone face Granny Square, and that's the one I'm going to be using today, but you can really adapt this tutorial to any Granny Square that you have, as long as they are big enough. So these are about 5.5 inches, and I probably wouldn't go any bigger than 7 inches. So let's get into it. You want to decide which square is going to be your front facing dominant square. And I'm going to do this one. So you want to put them wrong side facing each other, and you want to make sure that they are both facing the right direction, right? So if it matters. So for instance, this one, I don't want to have like one head upside down and the other one going in the other direction. So they need to be in the right orientation here. And we're going to go ahead and grab our yarn that's going to be the primary color of our bag, and starting in this top corner chain spaces, you're going to go ahead and make a single crochet working through both chain spaces. Okay, and then we're going to single crochet all the way down until we get to the next chain space. So you do want to make sure that you're lined up on that first stitch. There we go. And then the rest should fall in line. So just single crochet through both squares all the way down this side. And I'm going to pause and I'm going to meet you when we get to the chain space. All right, now we're to the chain space. One thing I think I forgot to mention is that the bone face square that I'm using here, I have not done the border round. I find it is a little bit easier to keep them lined up if you still have the open chain spaces to work into, rather than trying to work into the border round single crochet. So this is without the border round on it. So now we are to the first bottom corner chain space, and into those chain spaces we're going to do 1 single crochet, and then we're going to do 2 half double crochet working through both chain spaces. Okay, and across the bottom side we're going to do half doubles all the way across, working through both squares. Okay, so half double all the way across, and I'll meet you at the next chain space. Okay, and now we've gotten to our next bottom corner chain space. We're going to go ahead and do 2 half double into those chain spaces and a single. So 1, 2 half double and a single. And then we're going to single crochet these 2 sides together all the way up to the next chain space. This first stitch, you always want to make sure that you're in the right place on both sides, because I can't tell you how many times I get halfway down and then I'm like, wait a minute, I have 1 extra stitch on one side. So that first stitch is critical. I'm going to go ahead and pause again, and I'll meet you when we get to the chain space. Okay, and now we've come up to this next chain space here, and we're going to go ahead and make 1 single crochet through both of those chain spaces. Okay, and this is, we should have an opening at the top, and we should be joined on 3 sides now. And now we're going to stop working through through both squares, and we're going to just work through 1 square. So into that same chain space, but working only through the front square, we're going to make a single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet all the way across the top here until we get to the next chain space. I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I will meet you at the next chain space. Okay, and now we are to the chain space that we started in when we first started joining these squares together. We're going to single crochet into that chain space, and then that very first single crochet that we made, we're going to go ahead and just slip stitch in there, and then we're going to start working on the other side of the bag here. So on this square on the back, we're going to make one single crochet into that chain space, and then we're going to single crochet across the top of this square all the way across this top edge. Keep splitting my yarn. Okay. I don't worry too much about stitch counts on any of this. So long as everything is nice and lined up, it does not matter. Okay. Okay. So we're going to make a single crochet into the chain space on the back square. And then we're going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made into the chain space right here. Okay. There we go. Now we need to build some height onto this because I want to make sure that my cell phone fits in here really nice and it has a good lip on it. And I'm also coming up on a factory knot here, so I got to cut that out. But I'm actually not changing color, so that's just unfortunate. All right. All right, let's build some height. So I'm going to chain 2, and I'm not going to count that chain 2. And I'm going to double crochet all the way around. So into each of these single crochet, I'm going to double crochet all the way around. Join this yarn. It's a very ill-timed factory knot right there. But what are you going to do? Okay, so I'm going to pause. We're going to keep on double crocheting all the way around until we reach the starting point, which was the chain 2. Okay, so I double crocheted all the way around. This is how it should look. And now we're back to the beginning, and here's our chain 2. I'm not going to slip stitch into the chain 2. I'm going to slip stitch into the double crochet instead. We're ignoring that chain 2 altogether. And again, I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to ignore that one too. And now we're going to start alternating front post and back post stitches. It doesn't matter which one you start with. So I'm going to start with a front post, double crochet, and then a back post, double crochet around the next, front post around the next, back post around the next. And we're going to continue alternating front post, back post all the way around. And I will meet you where we began. Okay, and I'm almost back to the starting point. I'm going to do a back post double crochet around this last stitch. And if you end up ending on a front post stitch and have 2 front post stitches next to each other, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Okay, so here's the chain 2 that we started with. I'm going to slip stitch into the double crochet right next to it and ignore that chain 2. And now we're going to chain 2 again. and we're going to go ahead and continue doing the front post, back post double crochets. You want to make sure that your front post double crochet goes around a front post double crochet, and that your back post double crochet goes around a back post double crochet. So if you started with a front post like I did, I'm going to start again with a front post around that same stitch. Okay, we want them lined up. So back post around that one, front post double crochet around this next one, because that's what I did previously. And we're going to keep going like that all the way around again. Okay, back post, front post. I'll meet you back here where we started. All right, and I'm back to my starting point. Here's the chain 2, here's the first double crochet, and I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the double crochet. Okay, so here's how we should be looking. We've got some ribbing happening here, and this is important because we're going to weave our cinch into this ribbing here, like in between these front and back post stitches. But we'll get to that later. Go ahead and chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet into each stitch around. Single crochet all the way around the top, and I will meet you back here where we started. Okay, and we are back where we started. I am going to slip stitch into the first single crochet, just skip that chain 1 there. Okay. And then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to single crochet into each stitch around again. And I'm going to pause. And again, I'm going to meet you back where we began. Okay, back where we started. I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet. I'm going to skip that chain 1. And we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do another round of single crochet. So one more round of just single crochet, and then we're going to change it up a little bit. We're getting close to being finished with the bag, but then there are so many little details that we're going to add to this bag. So I will meet you back here where we started, single crochet all the way around. Okay, we are back where we began, and I am actually going to fasten this part off and do an invisible join. We're going to pick that color back up later, so if you don't want to fasten off, that's okay. You can just drop that color and come back to it. But I think this is going to look cleaner, so I'm just going to do it this way. Okay, but you can do whatever you want. Just really quickly get those ends out of my way. Okay, so now we need some contrasting colors. So I'm going to use, first I'm going to start with black. And I like to start on the back. Hold on. Okay, I put my hook down for 1 second, like right next to me, and I can't find it. Okay, so this is the front here, and then here's the back. You can really start wherever you want, but just to try to hide any starting or ending points. Into the back loop of your single crochet, we're going to slip stitch all the way around in the back loops only. So with this new color, back loop only, slip stitch all the way around. And I'm going to pause, and I'll meet you back here. All right, and I did my last slip stitch into the back loop on that last stitch, and our first stitch here, our first slip stitch, I'm going to insert my hook and I'm going to pull through my next color. So the next color is this other orange that I have. And I'm going to pull that through, and I'm going to make a slip stitch right there. And then I'm going to pull those tails down of the last color. I'm going to go ahead and fasten off that last color I was using. Get these tails out of my way. Okay. And now we're going to slip stitch in the back loop of all of these slip stitches that we made all the way around. So back loop, slip stitch all the way around. And I'm going to pause. I will meet you back here. Okay, and I am back to my beginning slip stitch there. And I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop of that slip stitch. And I'm going to pull through my next color. I recommend doing at least 3 different colors. We're going to go ahead and do the back loop slip stitch again. So pull your new color through and slip stitch. And then you're going to back loop, slip stitch all the way around again. Get in there. Okay. Now that I've got that made, let me pull this tail down. And I'm going to cut off that second color and get it out of my way. You can do as many rounds of this back loop slip stitch as you'd like. 3 is the minimum that I do. But you could do more. I like to, any colors that I have in the square, I like to incorporate into these rounds of like stripes that I'm making to kind of pull the whole thing together. We'll also include those colors in the fringe that we're going to put on. Okay, I'm going to pause and continue your back loop slip stitch all the way around. Splitting my yarn, there we go. Okay, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, and I'm back where I started. I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook into the back loop of this slip stitch here. And I'm going to pull through my primary bag color. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and fasten off that last color I was using. Okay, get that out of my way. And now I'm going to work back loop single crochet all the way around. I'm not going to chain 1 here on this first stitch. I'm just going to go right in. I'm going to try. I'm just going to go right in with my first single crochet right there, and then I'm going to pull on those tails to cinch everything in. And then back loop, single crochet all the way around. And if you just dropped the primary color back here, you can go ahead and just, on that last stitch, just finish that last slip stitch off, and then just pick up that primary color in the back loop only of wherever it is that you dropped it when we fastened off that primary color. So it does not matter if you start in this same place or if you just pick up where you left off with that color. Either way is fine. Just back loop, slips, or single crochet all the way around for this round. And I'm going to pause, and I will meet you back here. Okay, and we're back here where we started. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of my first single crochet to join here. Okay. And I haven't woven any of these other ends in yet because I like to finish it before I weave those in. Okay, and we're going to chain one, and we're going to just do a round of single crochet, regular single crochet, not back loop, regular single crochet into each stitch around. And I will meet you back here where we started. Okay, and we're back where we started. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of that first single crochet, and we're going to chain one. We're going to do another round of single crochet all the way around. Okay, and I will meet you back at the beginning. All right, and we're back where we started. I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this first single crochet, and then to finish off the body of the bag here, I'm going to go ahead and, starting in the next stitch over, I'm just going to work a round of slip stitches all the way around the top of the bag. Kind of tighten it up, give it a little bit of a finished edge here. Okay, so slip stitch all the way around, and I will meet you back where we started. All right, I slip stitched into that last stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and fasten off and finish this off. Okay. And worry about all my tails later. Just gonna get that out of the way. All right, so this is how the body of the bag looks, and now it's time to make our straps. So you can do a bunch of different kinds of straps here. Let's talk about it. I already made my strap. So this is a crossbody bag, but you could also make this into just a pouch for your wrist. And so this is just a single crochet strap. It's 5 single crochet across. If you wanted to just make a strap for the side, you would obviously make it shorter than what I've done. You just want to make sure that you can get your hand into it. So and then I like a little bit of give. So let's see how long that is. I'm going to put my hook in here and then I'll measure that. I think it's like a foot. Yeah, that was a foot. Okay, so if you just want to do a wrist strap, I would just do a foot of this single crochet, and then you could join this part together and then just sew it to the side for a nice little wrist strap. This is a crossbody bag for me though, so in a crossbody bag strap can have varying lengths for straps. If you're very tall, you would want a longer strap. If you are large busted like I am, I need a longer strap just to get it around my chest. But if you're very short and more on the petite side, then you might want a shorter strap of like 3 feet, or yeah, or you might want a really long strap if you're very tall. So the length of your strap is kind of up to you. I will tell you for this, I'll just show you really quickly. You would chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into the second chain from your hook, single crochet into the next 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you would chain 1, and turn, and single crochet into the next 5. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then chain 1 and turn, and single crochet into the next 5, and you would just continue that until your strap was the length that you wanted it to be. I am using worsted weight yarn and a 4mm hook. So for my strap, I got it took 60 rows to get to 1 foot. So for each foot, I did 60 rows of 5 single crochet times 4. So make it as long as you want, or 1 foot, and then make it into a little wrist strap. You have options. And then you're going to eyeball the side of your bag, right? So here's the seam, and I am going to just sew this strap into place. So I'm just going to eyeball where I think the middle is, and I'm going to go ahead and just sew this into place on both sides. I also have an I-cord maker, and that makes really good straps too, with very little effort. You can make an I-cord strap. You can do whatever style strap you want it to make. You just probably don't want it to be too thick because, or too wide, you know, because it is a small bag. So just keeping that in mind. All right, and then I probably want to go back and make sure this is really secured in there. Just sew it back again the way I came. Sewing technique is also up to you. You could do all of your stitching on the inside of the bag to like hide any of your stitches. Pulling these pretty tight, so I'm not really worried about it. They're kind of blending in with the crochet stitches. Okay, so I am going to pause, and I am going to attach the other side of my strap, and you do the same. Okay, so now it is time to add our cinches. Maybe I'm saying the wrong word, I don't know. This is just a string of chains that we're going to work through this front post, back post round here. And you can do a single chain, or you can do 2 chains. I like to, well, sometimes I do one, sometimes I do the other. Depends on how I feel. I'm going to do 2 for this one. So I'm going to take, so this is a chain of 150. You want to make sure that you have enough to go around and then some. Okay, so I am going to go ahead, and I've got this gigantic yarn needle here. I'm going to go ahead and thread the tails, and you do want to leave yourself a good long tail on these chains because we're going to add some tassels here too. And you can decide if you want to have them hanging through to the front, or if you want to have them more hanging out to the sides. I kind of like them hanging out to the sides so that it's not obstructing the front of the square. So I'm going to come in here, and in between these front and back posts, right here in the center, so I'm starting right here off to the side. I am going to start threading these chain these long chains through in between these front and back post stitches. Okay. Try not to get too twisted while you're doing this. Okay. Let me give it a tug before I get too far. This can be a little bit of a pain. And then and sometimes I have to go back and kind of pull them up after I've, you know, slid them through, just to make sure that they're both visible. It is easier to do this with one. I don't know why I'm doing two, but I guess I just like to be extra. Okay, well, I'll fix those in a minute. All right. Let's just finish working these around. Let's see. And then you do want to overlap where you first started. Okay. So here's where I first started, and I want to overlap. You can overlap by a couple stitches or just by one. I think I'm actually going to pull so that both sides of my tails are kind of even coming through. And then I think I'm actually going to take this one and pull it back one more stitch. Get in there. Get in there. Okay. I'm going to go back one more on that one. Okay. And then I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to pull all of my my chains up a little bit because I pulled them like way too hard. So I'm just going to take a minute. I'm going to pause. I'm just going to go through and kind of loosen this up a little bit in here. I'll show you in a second. Okay, and if you find that you are like me and you have been way too aggressive in pulling your chain through, I'm just taking my crochet hook and I'm just kind of sticking it under here, and I'm just loosening up how tight I had it pulled, because I want to be able to cinch it, but I also want to be able to get things into it, so I don't want to pull it too tight. Okay, so now I have my chains woven through here, and I have these long tassels here, but I actually have tassels that I'm going to attach to the end of my chains. So I'm going to take the two of them here, and I'm not going to give a tutorial on how to make tassels because there are people out there who can make them a million times better than me, and I suffer through every single time I try to make them. So you're gonna have to find somebody else to give you a tutorial on how to make tassels. But they are a real fun addition, and I always like to add beads. And if I have like a theme, like this one where I've got the bone face Granny Square, I've got these skeleton or skull head beads that I've been saving for just this occasion. So I am going to take both of my chains here. If you have two, I do kind of like to connect them here, like make a little knot at the very end of them to keep them together. And I'm going to take a second and I'm going to painstakingly attach the ends of my chains to my tassel here. And then we're going to add some fringe to the bottom of this and we're almost done. But you can add whatever you want. If you want to put a little button here, if you want to add a little toggle thing, you know, to put a button on. I had a couple options here, and who knows, I might add something else to this as well. That would be pretty cute. So you can add all kinds of things. I'm going to take a second here to try to get my tassels on, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I finally have my tassels attached to my chain ties here. And now we just need to add some fringe to the bottom of this. You could also do tassels like in the corners or tassels all the way across. Sometimes I add a little bit of extra crochet to the bottom, like make kind of like a, I don't know, filigree kind of thing at the bottom. But that's not this tutorial. This one we're just going to add fringe. So you need at least one strand per stitch at the bottom here. I usually go from like the second half double or the last half double to the first half double here, or to the middle one. So it's kind of depending on how it's turning out. Again, I don't do it the same every single time. Every time is a little bit different. So I do want to have like incorporate all of the colors that I have in the squares and in this purse. So I've got like two shades of orange and black and cream, and I'm gonna cut probably a 6-inch, well, maybe 5-inch, yeah, 5 to 6 inch strands of that, to put at least one strand in each stitch at the bottom there for some fringe. So I'm going to go ahead and pause 1 second and cut the rest of my strips here for the fringe. I'll be right back. Okay, I am ready to add my fringe. So this is the front of the bag here, and you can do your fringe either way. You can either take it from the front of the bag, like front of the stitch, and then pull the loop through and do it like this. Or you can come through the back of the stitch and do it the other way. And so one way is going to look a little different than the other, and that's up to you, however you like it best. I'm just gonna come through the front here, pull my loop through, and then pull these tails through the loop and pull it down. Okay. Try to space out my colors so that it looks nice and even at the end. And then at the end, I will trim it to make sure that all of the fringe is equalish length. All right, and then just continue doing that all the way across. You could double strand it. You don't have to do a single strand. You can really add as much as you want. You could add like strings of beads. You can really customize this as much as you would like to. And I hope that you tag me if you share that you made a bag like this on social media, because I'd love to see it. Okay, thank you. Bye.